Alright, so hear me out. At some point, you doing more research stops from studying and preparing to invest and starts being you just protecting yourself from the discomfort of making a real decision. If you have been studying personal finance and real estate investing for months or even years, there is a great chance you already know more than enough to take your first step. The problem here is not lack of information. It never was. Tony Robbins once said, if information was the answer, then we'd all be billionaires with perfect apps. And so let's stop just trying to find the next piece of information we think we need to move forward. Okay, but as always, before all that, if we've never met before, my name is Ernest. I'm a tech professional, a United States Air Force veteran, self-made millionaire, and a real estate investor who owns multi-million dollars in residential real estate. I built my financial foundation while working a full-time job, and everything I share on this channel is designed to help working professionals make clearer, more confident financial decisions. So let's get into it. First, we are going to name the research trap for what it is and understand why it happens. Second, we are going through the 5 things you need to know before you invest. What they are, why they matter, and what they actually reveal about your financial situation. And third, we are going to talk about how to get a clear, personalized snapshot of where you are right now and your most important next step. Alright, let's get into it. So yes, there is a version of preparation that is important and actually useful. Learning how inflation affects your savings, understanding how real estate builds wealth, and knowing the difference between investing a single-family rental and house hacking. That is preparation. But there is another version that looks just like preparation, but is actually just you protecting yourself from the discomfort of taking action. It is the phase where you are watching more videos, reading more articles, and listening to more podcasts, and no decision ever gets made. You think you're making progress because you're getting new bits of information every time you read or listen to something. And yes, of course, sometimes they do help and provide value. But let me tell you something that I've learned from personal experience. Real learning comes from actually doing the thing, not by just reading about it. And so at some point, you have to get into the arena and actually be in the fight, rather than just being on the stands watching and learning from other people. This is called analysis paralysis, and that is just exactly what it is. Sometimes we are just too smart for our own good, you know? So we get on our own way. And I mean, that's just normal, right? I know a few people that I have been trying to convince to start investing in real estate for a really long time. They've personally seen how it changed my life and built wealth for me and my wife. But they just keep coming up with ways, reasons, or excuses why it's not the perfect time to start. And so I am going to let you all in on a little secret. There is never a perfect time to invest. Always have to save up for whatever the next thing is, whether that be a down payment for a car, a vacation, or even a rainy day. There will always be something competing for your money. The question is whether you're saving toward wealth for your future or just spending money for the things that make you happy in the short term. Alright, so let me ask you something. Have you ever met people who are not any smarter than you, but has built wealth and a life for themselves, and you're just wondering how they did it? It's not luck. And there is no secret way to wealth that they found that you just haven't found yet. Well, actually, you want to know what the secret is? I'm gonna tell you, but you have to promise yourself that you'd actually use it. Alright. Ready? It's taking action. That's it. Take small steps moving forward. You may not see the final destination yet, but all you have to see is what's 5 feet in front of you. Imagine it this way. It's like holding a flashlight in the middle of the night where you can't see anything except for whatever the light shows you. Every step forward you take reveals the next step, and you just keep moving forward. And before you know it, you've traveled miles and you are way closer to your final destination than you think. So that's it. Take action. Take one step at a time. Keep moving forward. Okay, so now that you know the secret, let's move on to talking about the things that are actually actionable for you. For someone looking to get started investing in real estate, there are 5 factors that determine how ready you are. And so maybe you're at a point where you have accomplished some of these factors, or maybe you're at a point where you've checked all 5 boxes. Alright, without further ado, let's talk about the first one, income stability. Income stability is about the consistency of the source of your income. And we're not talking about just the amount of it. Banks want to see 2 years of stable income that they can look at. People who receive a salary is the perfect example. They get a paycheck every 2 weeks. And banks love to see that. And so gaps in your income or employment that looks unpredictable can affect how the bank reads your profile. Income stability is the foundation. Everything else is built on top of it. And so if you think you don't have a stable source of income and want to invest in real estate, this is one of the key things you need to fix. The second factor is your debt position, or what we call the debt to income ratio. I know that sounds a little complicated, but it's really not. Your debt to income ratio is simply the percentage of your monthly debt payments relative to your monthly gross income. Say, for example, you make $10,000 a month, but your rent or mortgage payment car payment, student loans, and minimum credit card payments amount to $4,000 a month. That means your monthly payments or debt is $4,000 and your monthly income is $10,000. And so doing the math, that means that you are at 40% debt to income ratio. Banks like to see a low debt to income ratio because that shows that you have enough money coming in compared to what you have to pay. And so for this second factor, the most important next steps are to calculate your personal debt to income ratio to see where you stand and see if you can get it at a maximum of 40% to increase your chances of getting approved for a loan. The third factor is reserves. Alright, so reserves are your liquid savings that is on top of the amount that you plan to invest as a down payment. Banks require them, and us experienced investors think of having reserves as a non-negotiable. Reserves are what protect you when a tenant pays late, when a major repair comes up, or when a property sits vacant between tenants. Think of reserves as your financial buffer that allows you to keep holding onto the asset. A typical number I like to have for each property is about $5,000 to $10,000 in reserves. And so for this factor, make sure you're accounting for reserves when you look at the capital you have to invest. And talking about capital, the fourth factor is capital availability. This is the total liquid capital you have available right now. You need to have enough for your down payment, closing costs, budget for initial repairs, and reserve requirements. And so when people run these numbers, the total is often different from what they assume going in. Sometimes it can be higher, but more often than not, it's lower than what they thought it would be. So the action item for you is to know how much capital you actually need to invest. The fifth factor is your credit score. You probably already know this, but your credit score and credit history is one of the key pieces of information that the banks look at to determine if they are going to approve you for a loan. And when you do get approved, your credit score is also taken into consideration to determine the interest rate that the banks will give you on the loan. A score above 740 typically gets you the best available terms, but that doesn't mean you have to have a minimum of 740 to get approved. Different loans have different minimum credit score requirements. So if you think you have a low credit score, the next best step is to come up with a plan to increase your credit score to a minimum of 600 just to be safe. All the factors need to work together to come up with a good story for the banks. If you have a stable source of income but have inadequate reserves, puts you in a different position than someone with all the factors fully covered. You could work through all the 5 factors on your own, but a structured framework gives you a more accurate read than self-assessment alone. And it gives you something that you can act on when you're done. And so this is why I built the Rental Wealth System Investor Readiness Assessment. It is a free 3-minute assessment that walks you through all the 5 factors and tells you exactly where you stand on your path to buying an investment property. When you complete it, you get 4 things. First, your investor readiness score. Second, a short breakdown explaining what your score means in layman's terms. Third, a checklist showing exactly what you need to work on before you buy an investment property. And fourth, a comprehensive investor readiness action guide. And this outlines all successful investors established before buying their next rental property. The link is in the description below. Again, it's free and it takes 3 minutes. Okay, so here's the takeaway that I want you to have from this video. Doing the research is not the problem. You are not taking action because you don't know enough. You are stuck because you don't have a clear picture of where you specifically stand. And that is a different problem with a much faster solution. The 5 factors we walked through today: income stability, debt position, reserves, capital availability, and credit score, those are not abstract concepts. Those are the actual things the bank looks at. And those are the things that determine whether you're ready to invest or whether there are things that need to be fixed first. And knowing where you stand on all 5 of them is not a 6-month research project. It is a 3-minute assessment. So here's what I want you to do. Before you watch another video, before you read another article, go take the Rental Wealth System Investor Readiness Assessment. Answer the questions honestly. Get your score. Read your action guide, and then you will know exactly what your next step is. That's it. That's the whole thing. I have seen people sit in the research phase for years when the answer was 3 minutes away. Don't let that be you. Alright, and as always, here's to your success. Keep learning, keep investing, and make your money work for you.